We condemn all violence
Senator,
and
this
threats
happened
of violence.
after you and
But to
President
say,
Trump were on the debate stage, said that
JD Vance went on CNN to talk to Dana Bash. I find her to be the most irritating of all of these people because, as I said last week, there's something about her that is so stiff. I think she can't even fake that she's laundering the lies. Like, usually they're better, they're slicker at it. She's just not even good at pretending she's not a Democrat activist. And here's JD throwing some of her nonsense back in her face.
Dana, first of all, let me just respond to a couple of things that you said, but I want to start with something you said, which I think is frankly disgusting and is more appropriate for a Democratic propagandist than it is for an American journalist. There is nothing that I have said that has led to threats against these hospitals. These hospitals, the bomb threats and so forth, it's disgusting. The violence is disgusting. We condemn it. We condemn all violence.
Senator, this happened after you and President Trump were on the debate stage, said that cats and dogs were being eaten.
You asked a question, Dana, and I'm going to go ahead and answer it. What we have said is that this town has suffered terribly under the policies of Kamala Harris. Now, you just accused me of inciting violence against the community when all that I've done is surface the complaints of my constituents, people who are suffering because of Kamala Harris's policies. Are we not allowed to talk about these problems because some psychopaths are threatening violence? We can condemn the violence on the one hand, but also talk about the terrible consequences of Kamala Harris's open border on the other hand. Now, let me just fact check a couple of other things that you said, Dana, because it's important. You said that all of these migrants are in the country legally. They are in the country through what's called temporary protective status.
Right.
That is when Kamala Harris waved a magic amnesty wand, taking people and giving them legal status. That is not to say that they're here legally. That is a terrible indictment of her amnesty policies that have further opened the border and further caused terrible migration into this country.
You might not agree with the policy, and obviously you don't, which is totally fair and legitimate. There are policy disagreements all the time. But the fact is it is the law because President Biden and Vice President Harris are. But I don't want to frankly go down this conversation about policy,
Dana,
because
you made a point. You don't. I agree. You don't want to talk about policy.
No,
Dana,
what I
want to
talk about
instead of about the fact
Senator,
that
it was
Harris,
your distraction.
Dana, granted amnesty.
You were the one who started talking about eating dogs and cats.
Level.
You were the one who brought this
my
up.
Constituents
the president
were the
said
ones
it to
who talked about
60
eating
million
dog and
people.
cats, and I talked about it because you were ignoring this community. My constituents talked about
Have
it.
you
And
been
it is
to
my
Springfield?
responsibility to surface their concerns when the American media
Have you been
ignores
to Springfield?
It. Dana, I've been to Springfield probably 100 times in my life.
How about
I've taken my
recently,
children
since
to
you've
get
heard
ice
this?
cream at Young's Jersey Dairy.
Have you heard recently since you've gotten these calls?
Have I been in the last 4 days?
No,
I'm
talking
haven't been
about
in the last 4 days, but I've
since
talked
you've
to a lot
gotten
of
these
people
calls
in
from the
Springfield, Dana,
constituents.
and they're telling me this stuff is happening. Dana, would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics? I noticed that when you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to the questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the questions. I'm happy to be here to talk about policy, but if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth, then why am I even doing this? So please ask a question, and I'd ask you to be polite enough to let me answer it.
Yes.
All right, so that's just a good job by JD, right? He's not screaming, he's not just going nuts and name calling and everything else, but he's trying to address the fact that the inconsistency here is that they treat the Democrats one way and they treat the Republicans the other way. Look, there is some argument, I suppose, at this point that every single Republican should just boycott all of these things. They should be boycotting the debates. They should be boycotting all of mainstream media. They should be circumventing the airlock that is allowing for Democrat control of everything. Just go around it, right? Just go to podcasts. Just do alternate debates. Like there's a plethora of ways that this whole thing could be just pushed aside, the mainstream media. But as long as it has some degree of control, the best thing you can do is what JD did right there, which is you do not treat us like you treat the Democrats. And more people are waking up to that.